Do you see any security here? I was shot 5 times with hollow point bullets on the orders of John Gotti Sr., the John Gotti Jr., and the Gambino crime family. A professional hit job. When they offered me security like they did the first time, I said, no, the people need the cops. I don't need the cops. I can take care of myself. Why should I be treated any differently than the people who ride the subway who don't have enough cops protecting them and in the streets? It should be do as I say and do as I do.
Hi, welcome to the Eli Fishman podcast. I'm your host, Eli Fishman. In every episode, we interview leaders, change makers, and professionals, bringing you the real information and knowledge straight from its source. Organic talk, unfiltered. Today, I interview Curtis Sliwa, the candidate on the Republican ticket running for mayor of New York City. Curtis is the founder of Guardian Angels. Curtis was shot 6 times, jumped out of a driving taxi, and rushed to the hospital in critical condition. He was arrested 80 times. Who is this man? What drives him? And can he win and be the next mayor of the city of New York? Please subscribe to the podcast, rate the podcast, give us your feedback on elifishmanonline.com, elifishmanonline.com. Thank you and enjoy. You're listening to the Eli Fishman podcast. Okay, Curtis, thank you so much for coming on. I know how busy you are these days. You don't waste a minute campaigning. So I really appreciate your time. I don't want to waste any of it, so I'll get right to it. I want to get to know you a bit better than just on the surface. I know a lot of people know you as this New York icon, Red Beret. You know, there's Statue of Liberty, there's the Empire State Building, Chrysler Building, and Curtis Sliwa. But I want to get you to know a drop deeper than that. What's your comfort food, Curtis? Sometimes the food we turn to isn't just about taste. It reminds us of a time, place, or a moment where we felt safe, happy. Does your comfort food carry a story or memory like that for you?
Sure. Well, since I have suffered from ileitis, colitis, and Crohn's disease, I actually had an 8.5-hour operation, or I would have died, in which they extricated the Crohn's disease. And I'm sure there are some of your viewers right now and listeners who've had those same stomach ailments. Mine resulted from getting shot 5 times with hollow point bullets over time. I always remember the foods that I used to eat. So, for instance, anything with sauce, right? Pizza, macaroni, gravy. There was a place in Williamsburg. I would go, the deli there where a lot of the Satmar went, Godfrey's. I would have the chullin as a joke, because when they'd see me eating a bowl of chullin, I'd say, you know, within a matter of moments, you're going to clear out of here.
Oh, yeah.
But I always liked the chullin there. So I liked the different ethnic sort of delights of different restaurants until I had to deal with the reality of ileitis, colitis, and Crohn's disease, which meant I had to eat bland, plain food. So, boy, do I have the great memories, but that's all they are now is memories. The only comfort is I have to have everything plain and bland, because if there's any spice at all, I'm down for the count.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, that's sad, because, you know, food can sometimes take you back to, you know, your comfort zone. Your the smell, you know, the aroma, the place, the summer, or the, you know, people think about the beach and the ice cream. You don't have such a taste or a moment where you go back and say, oh, this was a place I felt safe.
Oh, yeah. No. I used to actually compete competitive eating contests. I finished 3rd in the hot dog eating contest in Coney Island. Nathan's famous in 1996. I was the sour garlic pickle eating champion of the world, 2nd Avenue Deli, when Abe Leewall was alive, the owner-operator, until he tragically was murdered. I won 4 years in a row, and I would compete competitively until the stomach just fritzed out. So I used to love all kinds of foods, and you're right, it was a comfort.
Yeah.
Now, I get comforted. I put the headphones on like you have right now, late at night after a full day of campaigning, and I listen to electronic dance music. It gives me a mood elevator. I first actually heard it when I had traveled from the Golan Heights down to a lot by the Red Sea, where on one side I would go to Aqaba in Jordan. I saw Tony Blair there. He had a house there. And then in the Egyptian side, Sharm el Sheikh, you could see Saudi Arabia in the far tip of the Red Sea. And they had speakers in the water late at night, and they were playing electronic dance music, Israeli style. And I've been a devotee of electronic dance music ever since. It's a mood elevator.
Takes you to a different world.
Yes.
Curtis, your life story has been anything but ordinary. You've taken on powerful figures who tried to bring you down simply because you're standing up for justice, equality, and basic human rights. And the cost has been enormous. According to ES New York, you've been arrested 80 times, Curtis. You've also been shot multiple times, inches away from death. Six of your guardian angels' friends have been killed, and 36 members have been seriously injured, all simply because you were standing up for justice. Through all of it, you've built a reputation of someone who never complains, who just keeps on moving forward. Behind the toughness, have there been moments where it felt overwhelming, when you struggled or even doubted yourself? And what is it that allowed you to keep going and overcome it? What's the engine? It's not a normal thing for a person to come out of a serious operation where you were in critical condition, and after fighting, the crime families and the mafia, and you go right back to it like nothing happened before, upbeat, joking around. What is it that drives you, Curtis? And tell us about the moments that people don't see on the surface.
I think for me, and I think for most people, it's how you were brought up. So I really benefited. I had great role models and my mother or father. I didn't have to look for any other role models. I deal in the Guardian Angels with a lot of young people who have no role models. Thank God they join the Guardian Angels because we give them structure, discipline. We teach them to make the right choices in their life. A lot of young people don't have that nowadays. They have no guidance whatsoever, and their life will be filled with trauma. And they live a life of hopelessness and despair. They'll actually say, I don't expect to live another year. Wow, imagine you're a 19-year-old and you're talking like that. I mean, I expect to live forever, even though I know at a certain time, that's it, it's over. I remember my father, he was in a rehab unit. He had been a merchant seaman for 50 years. And the director came in and spoke to me and my middle son, who was Carter. And he asked my dad, how old are you? And my dad said 110. Now, that's how long my father Chester, wanted to live to. At that time, he was about 94. So I knew he was checking out. I knew, and I'd say, Dad, before we left, you want me to turn on the radio? He loved talk radio. No, son. You want me to turn on the TV? No, son. I realized how easy it is for human beings to turn it on and turn it off, because he was the most positive guy in the world, along with my mother. And so they would always teach me, Curtis, do good things. Don't ask for anything in return. But if you do good things, things will happen that are good for you and society. But just don't, you have to have patience. And I would often ask my dad, Dad, I've been doing good things for a long time. Nothing good seems to be happening for me. Patience. And he was absolutely right. So I can't wait to get up in the morning I've gotten to do all the things in life that I want to do. Talk radio show host at WABC for 35 years, where they actually paid me to give my opinion. It doesn't get better than that. I used to sit in the park and talk to the pigeons, and that was about the only people that would listen to me then, the pigeons. Then I start the Guardian Angels at a very difficult time and a lot of opposition, but I was able to survive through that. Survived being shot on the orders of John Gotti Sr. to John Gotti Jr. and the Gambino crime family. A miracle, not because of my great wherewithal. Obviously, a higher spirit, whether it's God, Hashem, whoever, decided that it wasn't my time to go. I get to do everything in life I want to do, and I've witnessed so many people work hard, and they never realize any joy. They work because they have to for their children, their grandchildren. They want to make a better life for others. And boy, I've had everything that possibly can happen good happen to me, so that if all of a sudden my time is over tomorrow, hey, it doesn't get any better than this. I came in with nothing. I'll go out with nothing, but I will be a man of honor because I've never sold my integrity in order to achieve wealth or equity.
It's amazing. You see, the way you're talking now is mysterious. It's not a typical thing the way regular human beings would behave after what you went through, right? You've had cancer in the past. You've had to fight the power, the elites. You have to fight the rich, the crime family. You fought against the mayor that didn't like you, the mayors and the politicians didn't like you too much, and you almost died doing it, right? And you talk about how dandy your life is, how beautiful it is, Curtis. That is a very unique personality to have.
Well, I was, again, taught when good men, good women do nothing, evil will triumph. And I see that as a student of history. I trust people. I don't trust politicians, and I am a politician, whether they happen to be in my party, the Republican Party, or the Democratic Party. I don't trust billionaires to make the right decisions because I've seen them make a lot of wrong decisions. I trust the people. Now, at times, I'm going to be disappointed by the people, but I really do feel that we have to have faith in humanity. People were increasingly losing faith in humanity, and then they get into their own little prism, their own little world in which they want to sort of tune everything out. I want to tune everything in. Because I want to, the day I leave this plane, to be inquisitive, to be curious, to ask questions, not to accept what I'm being told, but to know what can happen. And that's through organizing people. I have that gift. That gift came obviously from my parents. That's part of what they handed down to me. And I also learned that for every one success, there will be 9 failures. That's just the way life is. You not only have to learn to accept it, you have to understand that's a part of the cycle. It's just that when that one success comes along, you've got to take advantage of that and build on that. But don't let the other 9 failures crush you and rob you of your dignity and your pride, and most importantly, your faith in yourself and in other people.
Right. That leads me into the next question. Many New Yorkers today are frustrated with elites in business and politics. They feel ignored, unheard, and some of them just want to burn the system down. Part of that frustration is fueling support for candidates like Zoran Mandani. What is your message to these voters? How do you connect with everyday New Yorkers who are struggling and feel the system has let them down? Right? You just said every 9 failures, right? You have one success, but so many New Yorkers don't feel that way. How would you connect to those New Yorkers who feel that the system has let them down?
I think the key is when you talk about Zoran Mandani, I call them the Zoranistas. Those are his followers. AOC, Bernie Sanders, that part of the Democratic Party, the Democratic Socialists of America, the Working Families Party. You have to understand that they have a naivete. They don't really have a lot of experiences because quite a few of them have been sheltered. So they're quite idealistic. You don't want them to lose that idealistic feeling. but it has to be tempered with pragmatic and common sense based on being a student of history, which I don't think they understand that history repeats itself again and again and again. No matter what you do, it's going to repeat itself. Sometimes you have to go backwards in order to go forwards. So I sometimes laugh. Zoran Mandami, his adversaries, of which I am one, but they will call him a communist, a socialist. He doesn't retreat or surrender from that. But if you were to line up 1,000 New Yorkers from one end of a block to another end of the block and say, do you know what a communist is or a socialist is? They have no idea. Maybe those of my age, the baby boomers who went through the Cold War, understand that. But you can't be a communist and a socialist at the same time. Sometimes they double label him. Communists don't like socialists. Socialists don't like communists. Attack the guy on the issues. I also tell a lot of my colleagues, I say, do not attack his religion or his culture. I deal with Muslim people all the time. They are entrepreneurial. They're all the Uber drivers. Almost 9 out of 10 are Muslim. The coffee wagons that you see everywhere in the streets of New York, the halal trucks. They're very industrious. They're capitalists. They now own bodegas. The Yemenites have bought the bodegas from the Dominicans in the most crime-infested areas. So they do believe in business. They do believe in the American way. And culturally and politically, they are really conservative. I mean, very conservative. So a lot of people will say, well, why are they supporting Zoran Mandami, who is in favor of drag queens, transgenders, drag queening, reading hour, and all the things that if an observant Muslim were to hear, they would say, oh, my God, that's offensive. But because on the outside, especially from my party, Republicans around the country, I remember they said, why is he eating with his hands? Well, there are a lot of older people in that culture who eat with their hands. Why are you making fun of that? And then naturally saying all kinds of things about observant Muslims. So when they go to their day of prayer, Jummah, on a Friday, and they share the images of Republicans all around the country making fun of them, they almost feel compelled to rally around one of their own, Zoran Mandami, who really does not practice the Muslim faith. Not at all, but is a Muslim because of his birthright. And now we're forcing them to support him. And now, there's 1 million Muslims in New York City who never really were politically motivated the way Jewish people have been, except Jews are divided. I walked into a room sometimes, there are 10 Jews and 15 opinions, all at the same time. When I traveled Israel 3 times, the biggest argument wasn't about all the enemies surrounding the state of Israel. It was about Shah, the religious party, versus, at that time, Sinui, the secular party, and all the complaints that came from both. So I understand the complexity. So when all of a sudden Jews learned that 40% of their own voted for Zoran Mandami in the Democratic primary against Andrew Cuomo, they were shocked. I said, why are you shocked? Because it's your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. If you really want to educate them, it's what we call in Christianity a come to Jesus meeting. The Jews would have to call it a come to Hashem meeting. With the children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, it's tough love. So right now, as we approach Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and then Sukkot afterward, perfect time. Families are together. Tough love. Hey, Shlomo, not paying your college tuition anymore. Oh, no, not going to pay your rent, your car payment. You're not going to Europe with your friends this year. You're not bringing that Zoran Mandami anti-Semitism into this household. Hey, if you want that opinion, go ahead. Go out into the street, earn your own living, see how difficult it is. But parents and grandparents don't want to do tough love. My parents, when they raised me, they said, as long as you live under our roof, you will abide by our laws as long as you eat our food. Now, you don't like it? Go out, get a job. You can be independent and autonomous. And I remember a lot of kids in my generation in the 60s who were told, don't trust anybody over 30, don't grow your hair long, don't smoke ragweed, don't go to anti-war demonstrations. They all did. But the moment they realized that they had to fly out of the nest and survive on their own, in 5 days, they were coming back, Mommy, Daddy, oh, please let me back in. And that's what would happen now if Jews universally who are in shock that their children or great-grandchildren would be supporting Zohran Mandami said, no, you support him, you're out of the house. We're not supporting you. He's an anti-Semite. What are you, a self-hating Jew?
Anti-Semitism, right? This is a sensitive topic. Do you think, what's your definition of anti-Semitism? And do you think it's matches up with Islamophobia? Should it be discussed on the same level?
Anti-Semitism starts in the household at a very young age. When I'm mayor, what I will do, what Eric Adams refused to do, and what Cuomo did as governor, is you impose upon this massive educational system mandatory classes in the Holocaust, in understanding the history of anti-Semitism. We don't even have it mandatory to teach about the attack in 9/11. There were children who have no idea about the attack that took place on the World Trade Center. And when the first attack took place, Ramzi Youssef, who was the mastermind of that attack in 1983, once he was captured, the FBI flew him over the World Trade Center that he was unable to knock into the other tower to knock it down. And as they flew him over in the helicopter, they said, why the World Trade Center, Ramzi? And he said, simply because we said that's where most of the Jews would be. Their idea was to kill as many Jews as possible. Now, when you relate that to a new generation of Jews and you say it's no different than has occurred before, when they tell you what they want to do, you better listen to them. And you better understand they're going to try to do it. They're not just saying it. They are intent on doing it. They think that they are undertaking this noble task of killing or eliminating Jews. So you got to be tough. You got to be like Jews are in Israel, no nonsense approach. You got to know who your friend is, who your enemy, but your friend could become your enemy because of the history of anti-Semitism. And understand you might have to go it alone. You know, it's great to have Gentile support, Gentile friends. But look at what happened on October 7th. We're coming up to the second anniversary. The day after, Jews said, I can't believe I'm going to school. I'm sitting down with Muslim young adults. We're getting along. We're socializing. And now they're hating me. Well, understand. They've heard this from parents, from relatives, from friends. It is the perpetual sin of anti-Semitism. You're not going to change it. You could slow it down with young people by educating them, but it lingers out there and it rears its ugly head. Now, Jews have to protect Jews. If you don't protect yourself, don't expect Gentiles to do it. It's nice to know there are some righteous Gentiles out there that will do anything to help Jews, but most will not.
Jews are such a small number that, we have to have help outside the community. But you're right, we've got to stay calm. And it starts with education, like you said, very important. Let's do a quick rapid fire round for each of your opponents, Curtis. You'll have 10 seconds to tell us why they should not be the next mayor. Let's start with Cuomo.
Cuomo, he had his chance. He killed 15,000 elderly people because of his executive order during the lockdown and pandemic and never apologized.
Mandani.
Zohran Mandami has proven he is an enemy of Western values, Western civilization, and Jews in general.
Would you be willing to step into the ring and have a match with Zohran Mamdani if all the money goes to charity? And who do you think will win?
Well, I think probably the appropriate thing would be weightlifting. He has a problem lifting a paperweight. I think with one hand tied behind my back, I can beat him in weightlifting, and no harm will come his way.
You're definitely much tougher, Curtis.
Yes.
And Curtis, your favorite kosher pizza?
I got to be honest with you. My first slice of kosher pizza, I was 8 years old, and I was on Church Avenue in the Flatbush section of Brooklyn, and I swore I would never have kosher pizza in my life, that there's something different about the cheese. And then I forget, it started with an A. There's a very famous pizzeria on 13th Avenue in Borough Park. And they convinced me to try a slice. They said, it's much better nowadays. And it was magnificent. So I don't know what happened to the cheese, but I, as somebody raised Italian on my mother's side, Polish on my father's side, the cheese, the fromage is everything. And that slice of pizza, that kosher slice of pizza was the equivalent of the Italian pizzeria.
Oh, nice. Do you think Donnie would know which kosher pizza he likes? I've never seen Mamdani. I've seen you on 13th Avenue, walking down 13th Avenue. I've never seen Mamdani walking down 13th Avenue yet.
No, but he would say, look, like my fellow Jewish supporters, of which he has, especially in Park Slope, Brooklyn Heights, those communities, he will sit down and have a hummus summit with them. And he will say, I eat hummus, they eat hummus. We're brothers and sisters in solidarity. Now, ironically, his key leaders who got him the victory in the primary were predominantly young Jews. They're not Orthodox, they're not Hasidic, they're not conservative, Reformed, or maybe not practicing. But they are Jews, Jews by birth. I noticed, though, that now that he won the primary, they brought in a lot of people from the National Democratic Party. I don't know what their religious affiliation is. The Jews who were helping him have not left his campaign. They've just been reassigned because I think he's trying to homogenize himself, mainstream himself, because he knows that there are a lot of people who feel when it comes to crime, quality of life, hiring cops, he's not ready for prime time, which he's not. That's his vulnerabilities. The charge of anti-Semitism, guess what? Cuomo spent $30 million in PAC money to try to put a dent in him. You see, there are people on the far right and the far left who are anti-Semites, so that's like music to their ears.
Right. A very important topic to the Orthodox Jewish community is tuition, right? We spoke about schools before, and that their education is not up to par with what you would like, public schools. We don't send to public schools, and public school is one of the big expenses for the city, right? But we send to private schools where the average family size is around 6 kids, right? Which the burden of that can be tremendous financially. What will you do to help families who need to send to private school? They don't put the burden on the government. We have private schools. What would you do to help these families to get the burden of tuition over their head a bit?
Well, there needs to be school choice. Public schools alone are just not up to the task of educating the masses. In fact, if you look at the statistics, they are horrible. By the time of 4th grade, 2/3 of the children are not able to read, write, or do arithmetic at 4th grade level. 2/3. There are 100,000 less students in school. 1/3 of the total school population of 900,000 don't show up each day. They're truants. So when you start adding all of those problems, you say, well, we need charter schools. And if you notice, the UFT, Union Federation of Teachers, is protesting. They don't want any more charter schools, which gives them competition. And then you have the religious schools. I went to a parochial school, but I also went to a public school, so I can make the comparison. And then you have private schools. I think there should be choices that parents or guardians have to give their children the best education possible. I deal in the inner city. I'm telling it straight up. You either spend, let's say, about $30,000 for the student now in giving them school choice, maybe in a charter school, a religious school, a private school, not just a public school, or you spend $172,000 to incarcerate them later each year, in which they don't learn anything. They get worse in terms of the negativity that they have towards others and the crimes that they then begin to scheme about and commit. So if it's just a matter of finances, spend the money early, educate children before the 4th grade, and even if they make the wrong choices along the way, if they can read, if they can speak, if they can write, if they can do English on a computer, they're going to be able to survive. If they can't, it's going to be a very, very difficult life for them, and a very, very difficult time for others who have to live with them or be affected by them.
Right. So just to circle back, the financial part was asking, can you expand a bit on that? How are you going to help the families?
Yeah. Vouchers, tuition tax credits. There's all different kinds of language. So, for instance, if you go up to Ontario, I remember when I was organizing Guardian Angels in Toronto, I was stunned because Canada tends to be very liberal. But in the province of Ontario, their largest province, and in their largest city, Toronto, the Catholic school education, obviously religious school, is subsidized. I would have thought, wait a second, separation of church and state. Somehow, some way, they figured out that the public school system could not accommodate the massive numbers of children going to public schools. So they decided to subsidize religious school education. I don't know if it affects all religions. I'm not aware of that, but I do know it affects parochial school Catholic education. It can be done. And the answers as to why it's not done, separation of church and state, look, our job is to give children the basics so that they can make the right choices in life. Whether they remain secular or religious is a determination that they're ultimately going to make on their own when they become an adult. But I want to give them the tools of understanding. Just like you have in a religious situation in many synagogues and shuls that I've been in, where the rabbi is actually being questioned by the students and they have debate taking place over Talmud and Torah. Eventually, that applies to other factors in life. It's very spirited. And even though the rabbi, the teacher, obviously has a lot more education, a lot more experience, the children really benefit enormously from that give and take that exists. So I've seen that in the Jewish schools. I've visited mosques. I visited madrasas. I visited all different kinds of schools. My goal is to have children who can comprehend a conversation, think for themselves, have critical thinking, and then be able to answer questions so that they don't feel that they are failures in life, and then make the worst choices, which is to use thoracic. That means to be physical. I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna show you how much stronger I am, because it fills me full of strength to know that I can intimidate you, as opposed to be cerebric and to be able to argue your differences in a debate-like format.
Correct. The next question, you're the person to ask the next question. You'll know more about this than anybody else. New York is one of the most diverse cities in the world, with communities from every background of faith. What positive qualities, strengths, or contribution do you see in each of these communities? White, Hispanic, Latino, Black, Asian, Jewish, and Muslim. Can we go through them?
Yeah, I think the quality that has to be exhibited is a work ethic. Because when people are working, they're busy, they feel they have a purpose in this world, they're generating income for themselves and other people. It stimulates
the
them.
foundation.
Right.
Let's do Hispanic and Latino. What do you enjoy? What do you think they bring to the society? What qualities?
Latinos, it is their family life. Very committed to family and very committed to law and order. If you look at our police department now in New York, the majority of it is Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, no longer white and Irish and Italian. So the minority has become the majority in the police department, and they're very proud to be police, very proud of law and order, very proud of their family values.
Vote for Curtis. How about the Black African-American community?
African Americans, they understand that their history has been fraught with setback after setback, slavery, impoverishment, being indigent. And then all of a sudden, government came along and thought, well, we'll provide social services. And what they succeeded in doing is to break up the makeup of the family, the structure of the family. And I think a lot of people recognize that it rendered men impotent, so that they were no longer a necessary part of that family unit. Now, if you don't want to have a structured family unit, that's fine. But I think there are quite a few men in the African American community who have been marginalized to the point where they're not thought of as being the mentors, the leaders, those
Man,
that can influence, especially young men. And it's young men in every group, I don't care what their color or ethnic background is, that tend to create problems. They're rambunctious. They will challenge authority. And you have to have a male figure around. It's sometimes too much for a mother to deal with, especially if she has multiple children.
What do you see in the Asian community that you appreciate?
Asian community, they revere their elderly. Oh, more so than almost any other group. You walk into an Asian home and they have pictures of their grandparents, great grandparents. You cannot utter or speak in a tawdry way or curse. They really do revere their elderlies. And very much like Jewish people, they know that education is the pathway to equality, to leveling the playing field, and to achieving the American dream. In fact, they have received a lot of blowback, just as Jews have over the decades, because of the excellence they have achieved. There are people who are jealous of them. There are people who assault them. There are people who engage in Asian hate, which I and the guardian angels have helped prevent, as we have helped prevent against some in the Jewish community. But it's all based on the same factors. They'll come here to this country. They can't speak English, but they want the best for their children, and they say education, education, education.
Muslim community. And then I want to hear your pitch on why you will tell New Yorkers why you could win these elections. Have first the Muslim community.
I say that again?
The Muslim community.
In the Muslim community? Well, first off, they are really family-oriented. In the previous election with Vice President Harris versus Donald Trump, I saw so many, especially the Yemenites, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, the Yemenites are Arabic, but the non-Arabic Muslims wearing MAGA hats, MAGA shirts, really being strong Trump supporters.
yeah.
Now, that's all changed with Zohar Mandami for the reasons I've mentioned, the attacks on their religion and culture, but very family-oriented. You really don't see the kids getting into trouble. The parents take that as an act of dishonor on the family. So if somebody goes out there and does something to somebody else or steals or creates a problem, the whole family suffers because there is a feeling that, oh, my God, it has tarnished our name, our reputation, our image in our community. And they're very structured. That's part of their religion. So the more religious you are, you tend to be more structured.
Curtis, why should people vote for you? And look at the polls, people ask, it doesn't look like he could win. People love you. Everybody loves you. Curtis, I walk on the street, I ask people love Curtis Sliwa. But look at the polls. He's not. Why? Tell us, Curtis, why should people vote for you? And could you win this?
Well, it's interesting. They'll say, well, you're not second in the polls. You're third behind Cuomo. And I'll say, well, do you believe that the polls have indicated that 40% of your own people, Jewish people, voted for Zohar Mandami? No, that's impossible. Well, you don't believe that part of the poll, but you want to believe the part of the poll that only Cuomo can beat Zohar Mandami. That's ridiculous. He had his chance to win, and he lost. And he admitted he didn't try hard enough. What makes you think he's going to try hard this time? Whereas I am out in the streets, I am out in the subways. No candidate rides the subways every day. There's 6 million different people riding subways and buses, and they all have their own opinion. It's like having a focus group. Plus, I start out with 28% of the vote from my last election. And then I have independents. So out of all the groups, the independents are most supportive of me. They're 2.5 times the number of registered voters and Republicans. I have some moderate Democrats, and I have animal lovers because I have the first ever independent line that is protect animals.
Amazing.
It calls for shelters, no-kill shelters, and put animal abusers in jail. And there are a lot of women that are in favor of that. So you start adding up the numbers. If I get 35% of the vote, I'm the next mayor of the city of New York. Remember, Zoran is not going to get 40% of the vote at this rate. His numbers will go down. I believe mine will go up because I have favorable ratings. As you mentioned, everybody loves Curtis. Nobody says anything negative about Curtis. And ultimately, as this election gets dirtier and dirtier, and just in terms of the negativity, you're going to see people are going to say, you know, I don't like all this negativity. But this guy Curtis has been here forever, and he is the most consistent one. He's consistent Curtis. The polls say I have the biggest character rating. People trust me the most. They say I'm the most honest. When have you ever heard anybody claim that a politician is honest? So I have a lot of positives to work off of it.